opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to support this bill, albeit with a lot of amendments. Mr. Speaker, sir, I happen to have sat in the committee that invited stakeholders. And Mr. Speaker, sir, from the onset, going through clause by clause by clause by clause, this is a bill that I would second my good friend Senator Wetangula. It might require the entire House to actually go through it. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm going to limit my presentation in about 9 areas. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill talks about a creation of a regulatory body. That body, Mr. Speaker, sir, is actually taken care of by the Ministry of Energy. We have 2 ministries. We have the Ministry of Petroleum, which takes care of the downstream, midstream, and upstream. All the stakeholders that we interviewed, the ones who came in through the public participation, and this is why it is very, very important, Mr. Speaker, sir, that when we actually call for public participation sessions, we take into consideration what the general public, what the stakeholders are talking about. One of the key things, and this will come into through amendments, and that is why, Mr. Speaker, sir, from the onset I said, it will be important for this House to get access to the committee report. Because I want to be on record saying that I never agreed with most of the thing. In fact, I ended up writing a minority report. Because when we talk about the regulatory body, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is imperative that the energy sector has its own regulatory body, and the petroleum, or rather the petroleum minister, also takes care of a regulatory body that deals with the upstream, midstream, and downstream. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the issue of contracts, that is another issue, and I'm sorry I'm rushing this because of time, but I want to touch on all those areas. The second area that I care so much about, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the issue that this bill talks about. The issue of contracts, revenue sharing contracts, the issue of the field development plan, which the contractors have to come up. I think these are things that ought to be ratified by Parliament so that it can take care of the interests of the people. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, sir, which is something that every stakeholder spoke about, had to do with the issue of direct involvement by county governments. This bill creates very powerful cabinet secretaries. And Mr. Speaker, sir, in this era of a devolved government structure, it is imperative that the people in the county governments have a say, their county governments also have a say, so that we can be seen to be dealing with issues that takes care of all our interests. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, sir, has to do with the issue of revenue share, the way that revenue is shared. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am not from the school of thought that believes that the county governments or the people should be sharing a share of the national government share. I tend to believe that county governments and the people should be sharing a share of the profits that we are getting from the upstream. Mr. Speaker, sir, it will be good for the people of Kenya to get 70%. It will be good for the people of, of where the oil is coming from to get 10%. This issue of saying that we went to Turkana and negotiated for 5%, 25%, it is not involving the entire country, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the other issue has to do with the issue of permits. When you look at this bill, because from the onset I said this is a terrible bill. And when we started looking at it, you will see, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we'll bring amendments from either from clause 1 all the way to the end. Because when you talk about permit, you're looking at, there are so many permits which are required. And those permits, Mr. Speaker, sir, Madam Speaker, sir, do not take into consideration the we now have Madam Speaker, sir. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. There was a big transition which is confusing. So I think it is important for me to wrap it up that we have to look at the bill, putting into consideration the issues of exemptions of permits, who is going to be exempted. Madam Speaker, there are areas where certain issues are decided upon by the cabinet secretary and the people on the ground are not consulted, Madam Speaker. And even when you say there will be an issue of communication, you do not even find a method that you can use to reach out to all the people. So there are so many amendments that I don't want to deliver on that we are going to bring into this bill. But, Madam Speaker, can I please have one minute for me to finish? Please. Madam Speaker, just 1 minute. Yeah, okay, can you switch me on? Just 1 minute, or 30 seconds. 30 seconds, Madam Speaker. 15 seconds. Madam Speaker, as I wrap it up, I hope that each member, and I'm very happy that I'm seated in a house where we have members of high intellectual capacities, to look at the reports that we have drafted. And finally, Madam Speaker, this issue of natural resources, this issue of resources is something that this government or this country must take seriously. Because what is happening right now in the Masai Mau, right now people are dying there, and they are dying because of fighting for resources. As we speak right now, Madam Speaker, people are dying at Olpusumoru because of fighting for resources.
Done.
If we cannot even control those issues, now what about oil?
You are done. Thank you. Senator Ongeri.
Thank you, Madam, for